And that breaking news, just horrible. A massive lithium battery fire in Surprise, and at least 8 firefighters hurt in an explosion.
We want to get.
Yeah, well, Steve and Katie, this is a very active scene, and what we know now is that the injured firefighters were transported to several Valley hospitals, some of them by ground, some of them by helicopter. Now, I want to step out of the way to give you a look at what we're seeing out here, a very large response. We've seen firefighters and fire agencies from multiple agencies out here on the scene.
This not only affected fire crews who were out there, but people who were nearby in the West Valley going about their normal Friday night when all of a sudden they hear something more, a loud boom interrupting normal Friday night activities.
Yeah, we just talked to one dad, actually. He was at baseball practice with his son.
Shook us all, really. I mean, it was a big boom, and the ground shook, and then we all kind of stopped practice, wondering what was going on.
Now let's get to developing news out of Monterey County. A fire burning at one of the world's largest lithium battery storage facilities, and it continues to burn more than 24 hours after it started. Residents near the Moss Landing facility, they're still out of their homes this afternoon.
The biggest thing we're worried about right now, Aaron, is air quality, and we're getting very few answers.
We don't have a lot of answers, and it's that thick black smoke that you see coming up from this fire over the course of the last 36 hours or so that is so concerning. It is releasing chemicals into the air. That we know. The real concern, and what we don't know a lot about, is the potential impact on people.
But the concern on the outside is what is being pushed out into the air. That's why you're seeing evacuation orders issued in this area. The fire started after 3 this afternoon, but it really grew in the evening. Around 1,500 people are under those evacuation orders. And then in addition, beyond those evacuation orders, officials as far north as Santa Cruz County are asking people to stay inside and close their doors and windows and to shut off air systems until further notice. A Monterey County supervisor spoke to just how serious the situation is.
Well, there's no way to sugarcoat it. This is, it's just a disaster.
This disaster occur in Van Zandt County? What's the situation on battery energy storage systems? An increasing number of energy companies are targeting rural Texas. Currently, in Texas, there are no standardized regulations to address the safety concerns. We have an administrative gap, as many of the Texas counties do not have fire codes sufficient to deal with accidents. And the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality is reactive and not proactive. Local governments are struggling as these projects pop up unannounced and at an unprecedented rate. County governments are often unfamiliar with this technology and the associated hazards. And the energy companies have the advantage knowing full well that rural communities have limited regulatory powers. Specifically, the local county governments are extremely limited because they're unable to adopt development regulations in unincorporated areas. In the state of Texas, what's here and what's coming? Well, standalone battery energy storage, over 600. And then if we add solar, wind, and other technologies, we have over 900 facilities coming to the state of Texas. What is a BESS? It's a technology that uses batteries to store electrical energy for later use. It's combined typically with solar and wind for peak time needs, and the energy is accumulated during off-peak hours. What's typically used are the lithium-ion batteries, like in the Tesla vehicles. So what does a battery energy storage container look like?
While one unit was offline, it was safe to see inside a typical battery energy storage box.
Each one of the little silver boxes is about 22 small lithium-ion battery cells.
And how many homes could a system like this power when it's online?
A system like this could probably power about 22 homes. It's just for this one unit.
What a BESS looks like and how it works. You saw the modules of cells. They're in racks in the container. Then inside the container, there are auxiliary systems and the important inverter, which transforms the DC into AC and vice versa. So what does ERCOT look like and the power that we use? Well, 1 megawatt of power of electricity is enough to serve about 250 residential customers during peak hours. In the state of Texas, we have about 10,000 megawatts of available battery energy storage power as of December 2024. What are the projects in Van Zandt County? Well, we're going to specifically discuss the Amador site southwest of Canton. But already we have the solar site BT Kellam, and we have these other sites coming. Sierra Diablo, that location is unknown, and this information does come from the ERCOT database. I'll have a link in the description box. You can download these. They appear to be updated every month. And you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 facilities in addition to the Amador site that look like they're going to be coming to Van Zandt County. So what about the Amador site? This is owned by the Tulare company. They're out of Finland. The project consists of just under 50 acres, again, southwest of Canton. The property appears to be owned by Jose Amador out of Gun Barrel City. You can check this on the Van Zandt County Central Appraisal District page. But there appears to be some confusion about who does actually own this, and what you unfortunately find out when you're looking into this issue is that there are lots of shell companies that the larger corporations open to confuse us and make it very difficult to trace who is doing what. What is going to occur on this Amador site? It could be 15 containers, it could be up to 45 containers of batteries. At least initially, the facility will provide up to 2 hours of power to the grid. So all of this risk for 2 hours of power. Here's a map of Van Zandt County. In the upper right is Grand Saline, just to give you some context. And in the lower left, so that would be the southwest corner, that would be the Witten area site. Here is the site via the Central Appraisal District. You can see it's listed as 4 different properties. You can see all the property owners around the site, and this property owner here has hundreds of head of cattle. So what are we going to do about those in an emergency? You can also see some other issues. So we have a battery energy storage site coming. We have the Rayburn Electric Cooperative in the northeast corner, and the Explorer pipeline directly underneath the battery energy storage system site. So here's a map of this Explorer pipeline. And what does the Explorer pipeline carry? Diesel fuel, jet fuel, unleaded gasoline, natural gas, again running directly under the Amador site. There was already a leak in just the pipeline in and of itself back in January of 2024. And with regard to the Rayburn Electric Cooperative, they already operate the solar facility that's current. They have a solar and battery energy storage facility in Kaufman County and a battery energy storage facility in Hunt County called Turquoise. In October 2024, the Van Zandt County Commissioners Court met with Tulare representatives, and what did we learn? Number one, there will be no on-site management at this site, only remote monitoring, with the closest personnel being in Arlington or College Station. Maintenance will only be done 1 to 2 times a year, or when equipment fails. The company stated that on-site fire suppression systems were optional. And they also lied about the off-gassing and about the thermal runaway, which we'll discuss in a moment. So already the construction vehicles are being used on county roads. So a big thank you to our Precinct 2 Commissioner, Cliff Williams, who wasted no time in having a sign placed on County Road 2408. What about fires and accidents at these facilities? What's the history here? There is something called the Bess Failure Event Database. Over 100 accidents, over 30 accidents since 2022, with the Moss Landing site in California being the most recent. You can look that up on YouTube. There'll be lots of videos. It's a pretty bad situation there in California. What are the risks? Extreme fire hazard, toxic gas, environmental contamination to the water, to the land, injury risk to the firefighters who respond, light and noise pollution to the adjacent property owners, livestock risk and wildlife risk in the area, property value depreciation, cyber attack, we'll talk about that, and decommissioning risks. What do you do when the batteries are no longer usable? This is a big problem and could put the county in debt. So what is the fire risk? We call it thermal runaway. And just very briefly, it starts with battery damage, with the battery being compromised. Then there's off-gassing, and this is a time when if you can recognize the incident early, you can deal with it much, much, much more effectively. But obviously, with nobody there, that's going to be very difficult. Once you get into the smoke, the presence of smoke is indicative of an impending catastrophic event in which ignition and thermal runaway are imminent. And the thermal runaway is a domino-like chain reaction causing adjacent cells to catch fire. So now you have thermal runaway within one container, and then it goes from container to container. Here is an image showing 30 seconds to 2 minutes and the speed of propagation of the flames. So what about the fire code? Briefly, there is something called the International Code Council. They create the International Fire Code and the International Building Code. For smaller counties in Texas, we have something called the National Fire Protection Association 855. So this refers to the mandatory requirements and safety strategies for counties that have less than 250,000 people. These requirements are what the default requirements are. So what is the available fire protection in Van Zandt County, in East Texas as a whole? Well, I have the link for where this information is from, but these are the fire departments in Van Zandt County. And you can see by these numbers, we are woefully understaffed in terms of manpower. We are woefully under equipment. We don't have enough equipment, and we certainly don't have enough water to deal with these fires. Because when there's a fire, you cannot put water directly on the container. You have to cool down the adjacent containers to attempt to prevent them from getting on fire, and we just don't have enough water to do that because that may be days on end of spraying the adjacent containers. What about medical care? Well, there's only one level 1 trauma center in East Texas, that's in Tyler. And again, there's no hazmat in East Texas. So most likely we would have to call on Dallas Hazmat to get all the way out to Van Zandt County to even start to deal with that. So now we're looking at minimum hours of delay. The contributing factors leading to the failure, the fire suppression systems, the lack of thermal barriers between the batteries, the lack of proper ventilation, the lack of proper emergency response plans. These are the common reasons that these failures have occurred to date. What about the smoke and fumes? Well, we have hydrogen cyanide, hydrogen fluoride, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, hydrogen chloride. All of these are corrosive. All of these can cause lung damage and have long-term health impacts to not only human beings, but our cattle and our other wildlife. What about soil contamination? Well, in this most recent fire, which is the Moss plant, which, by the way, is owned by Vistra Power, which is out of Texas. Yes, Vistra Power is out of Texas. Unfortunately, they've found heavy metals in the soil in the testing so far. Nickel, manganese, cobalt were found. These were field surveys done within a radius of about 2 miles from the facility. And this is just being started to test the soil due to these fires. What about water contamination? Well, the Amador site is very close to the Lacey Fork watershed, which is 18 miles long. It supplies Cedar Creek Lake, and that provides water to Tarrant County, so their water would be poisoned. What about firefighter safety? Well, 8 firefighters were hospitalized after the Arizona fire in 2019. Those batteries, by the way, were manufactured by the same manufacturer that's doing the batteries for the Amador site. What about noise and light pollution? Well, it's going to be like living next to a football stadium with the additional buzzing that you hear. Not a very pleasant situation for the property owners that are adjacent. The livestock risk, what about if you have cattle and other livestock? What about wildlife? There's bald eagles in the area, as well as all sorts of other wildlife. What's going to happen to that? Then we have the national issue of cybersecurity. Remember, we talked about 922 of these facilities. That's 922 opportunities for China to get into our grid and wreak havoc with the grid and wreak havoc with potentially causing a fire. This is not a good situation. Thankfully, it's gotten the attention of Marco Rubio, and most recently, it's gotten the attention of President Trump. Unfortunately, we have some mixed messaging here with these types of facilities because both Marco Rubio and President Trump have called this a wake-up call, the cyber attacks, but our comptroller, Glenn Hagar, has written articles about battery energy storage in Texas and the benefits of it. And then we have the Robstown facility in Texas where Elon Musk has put a lithium plant. And we also have the conservative Texans for energy innovation. So we have a lot of mixed messaging here. We all need to come together to prevent these facilities from ruining our way of life here in Van Zandt County. What are the action steps that have been taken so far and what's potentially to come? The Lance Gooden press release regarding his letter to the EPA, a request from our DA to Tulare, the Finnish company, for the NFPA 855 fire information, a Senate Bill 934 by Bob Hall, a 391 commission, the lawsuit by the local adjacent property owners, and a petition. So let's take a few seconds to go over each one. Lance Gooden wrote a letter to the EPA, and he stated, our community must not be treated as a testing ground for rushed industrial projects that fail to consider local safety and environmental needs. We'll see what the EPA does. Our DA, Tonda Curry, has written to Tulare. Her letter was received on January 7th, 2025. Tulare has until February 5th to respond. A stop order build can be issued if they do not respond by February 5th with information. So that would at least delay the project. Senate Bill 934 by Bob Hall allows independent organizations to immediately suspend or terminate a company's registration if there is a reasonable suspicion that the company meets certain criteria related to foreign ownership or control. Thank you, Bob Hall, for getting this started. We have something called a 391 commission, which allows for counties, cities to band together to form something called a 391 commission to compel state agencies to coordinate actions to protect our safety, our welfare, and concerns. And I will let Precinct 2 Commissioner Cliff Williams explain more about what a 391 commission is.
The focus of a 391 is for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. It's not only for battery energy storage. A 391 commission is for regional planning. So it is our intent to move forward on a 391 commission. It is my intent. I can't speak for the rest of the commissioners here. It is my intent to continue the work on the 391 commission so that we can provide additional information and planning strategies to those state and local entities that are interested in our Van Zandt County area. Now, I would point out one thing that's specifically stated in these rules is that the commission cannot force its will on Van Zandt County. The commission cannot force its will on Henderson County or any of the other counties that are involved or not involved. It is a planning, and it allows us to receive information.
So what is the specific task or what is it the 391 commission going to be focusing on? Environmental, or how's it going to be set up?
A 391 is a regional planning. So if you think about it in its largest scale, it's how to plan this area, whoever our partners are, for health, safety, and welfare of the community. So if our health safety concern is on biosolids, then it absolutely can impact. If it is in planning a new thoroughfare or roadway to streamline our ingress egress to other areas, then it would involve that. So it's a information gathering tool where you can put people together. We have people that are have far more knowledge than I have related to engineering issues on the battery energy storage. We have people in the community that are versed far better on fire safety and explosion than I am. And so I believe that the commission will help provide information that will either notify us of concerns or quell our fears related to issues that are coming in.
The local property owners have started a lawsuit for those who live within 1.3 miles. Yes, that is a very specific number. To join the lawsuit, you can email vzlawsuitjoin@gmail.com. Again, look in the description box. And finally, thank you, Nancy White, for starting this petition. Stop the progression of renewable energy and the Bess scams. We need the numbers here. We need thousands of people to show that we are very concerned about our county and our way of life. Not in Van Zandt County. Thank you.